I've worked at Calder and Rowe Logistics for a little over 2 years now. If you've ever been inside a mid-sized distribution company that's doing just well enough to avoid change, you already know the place. Gray carpet tiles that never quite line up, fluorescent lights that hum faintly like they're thinking, and rows of identical desks broken only by the occasional dying plant someone forgot to water. My desk is on the 4th floor, near the window that doesn't open. I sit across from Elias. Elias is the kind of coworker HR would use in a brochure if anyone ever bothered to make one. Always on time, no, not just on time. Early. He's there when I arrive at 8:43 every morning, already logged in, already typing. I've never seen him rush, never seen him stressed, never even seen him yawn. His emails are perfect. No typos, no unnecessary words. Just clean, efficient sentences that get things done. Morning, I'd say. Good morning, he'd reply, always with the same slight nod, the same neutral expression. At first, I thought he was just disciplined. Some people are like that. Former military, maybe. Or just really into routine. It made sense. It still makes sense, if I don't think about it too hard. There's a coffee machine in the break room that produces something closer to bitter brown water than actual coffee, but Elias drinks it like it's the best thing he's ever tasted. Black. No sugar. No pause between sips, just a smooth, steady intake until the cup is empty. Man, how do you drink that stuff? Jenna asked him once, wrinkling her nose. It's sufficient, Elias said. We laughed. He didn't. That's normal, I guess. Some people don't laugh much. The thing is, offices like ours run on small talk. It's how you pass the time between spreadsheets and pointless meetings. You learn people's habits whether you want to or not, who microwaves fish, who takes too many smoke breaks, who sighs dramatically every time Outlook crashes. And after a while, you start noticing patterns. Elias had patterns too. Perfect ones. He typed at a consistent rhythm, never speeding up, never slowing down. His posture didn't change. Back straight, shoulders level, hands moving in precise, economical motions. He didn't fidget. Not once. No tapping fingers, no shifting in his chair. I noticed the blinking thing maybe 4 months in. Or rather, I noticed the absence of it. It didn't hit me all at once. You don't watch people's eyes that closely. But one afternoon I glanced up during a long, boring call and Elias was staring at his monitor. Eyes open. I went back to my notes, looked up again a minute later. Still open. I frowned, waited. 2 minutes. 3. Nothing. No blink. No flicker. His eyes didn't dry out, didn't twitch, didn't even seem to strain. They just stayed there, clear, wet, fixed. I told myself I must have missed it. People blink. It's automatic. But I kept noticing. Morning. Elias. Eyes open. Mid-morning. Someone would crack a joke about the printer being possessed. Elias would acknowledge it, turn his head slightly. Eyes open. Lunch. People scrolling phones, half-eating sandwiches. Elias sitting with his coffee, looking straight ahead. Eyes open. I started counting in my head. Quietly, while pretending to read emails. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. I got to 60 once. Then 90. Then longer. Every time I thought, this is it, he'll blink now, he didn't. Dude, you okay? I didn't realize I'd been staring until Mark said it, leaning over the divider. Yeah, I said quickly. Just zoned out. Must be nice, he said. I can't even zone out without getting another email. I mentioned it once. Kept it casual. You ever notice Elias doesn't blink much? Mark shrugged. Man, I don't even notice if I blink. Why would I track his? Jenna laughed. He probably just stares at screens too much. My eyes get like that sometimes. Yeah, I said. Probably. I almost let it go. Would've, maybe, if it weren't for the break room. That Thursday started like any other. Rain against the windows, soft and constant. Around noon, a few of us gathered in there. Jenna had brought leftovers, Mark was complaining about a client, and someone from accounting, Victor, was in the middle of telling a story. So I tell him, if the numbers don't add up, maybe you should try counting again, and this guy just, Victor stopped to laugh at his own setup. He just stares at me like I insulted his entire bloodline. Mark snorted. You probably did. The punchline wasn't even that good. People laughed anyway. Including Elias. That's what made me look at him. His laugh didn't start naturally. 1 second he was still, the next, ha. 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 Loud. Too loud. His head tilted back sharply, further than it should have, exposing the full length of his neck. The sound came out in even bursts, spaced too perfectly, like someone had programmed the rhythm. No one else seemed to notice. Mark was already talking over him, Jenna shaking her head, Victor basking in the mild success of his joke. But I couldn't look away. Because something moved. At first I thought it was just the way the fluorescent panels flickered, creating weird shadows. That's all it was. Had to be. Then it happened again. Under the thin layer of skin along his neck, just above the collarbone, a shape shifted. Not a twitch. Not a pulse. Something traveling. It started near the base of his throat, a subtle bulge pushing outward, then sliding upward in a smooth, deliberate motion. Too long to be a muscle. Too defined. Like something narrow and segmented was crawling just beneath the surface, displacing everything in its path. I froze. Elias kept laughing. Ha. 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 The movement reached the side of his neck, just below the jaw. For a second the shape became clearer. Uneven. Ridged. The skin stretched over it, pulling tight in a way that made the contours visible. Then it shifted again. Faster. Up, back, disappearing beneath the line of his skull. His neck was smooth again. Elias lowered his head. The laughing stopped instantly. He looked forward, eyes open as always, expression neutral, like nothing had happened. No one said anything. Jenna was scrolling her phone, Mark grabbing another cup of coffee, Victor already complaining about something else. I realized I was gripping the edge of the table hard enough that my knuckles hurt. Hey, Mark said, glancing at me. You look like you saw a ghost. Just didn't sleep well, I said. I didn't look at Elias for the rest of the day. Told myself it was a muscle spasm on the drive home. Nerve misfire. Optical illusion. Bad lighting. At 3:12 a.m. I googled visible muscle movement neck looks like crawling, and fell into a rabbit hole of medical forums I immediately regretted. None of them looked like what I saw. Still, I needed it to be something normal. Something explainable. Because the alternative didn't just sound ridiculous. It felt unstable. Like thinking it too clearly would shift something in my head I wouldn't be able to shift back. So I went to work. Elias was already there. Morning, I said, forcing my voice level. Good morning, he replied. Same tone. Same nod. Same eyes. Open. I buried myself in emails, calls, numbers. For a while it almost worked. Until I caught myself counting again without meaning to. 1 Mississippi. 2, I stopped. Shook my head. Around noon, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. That it was just stress stacking on sleep deprivation. By the end of the day, I'd made a decision. I was staying late. Elias always left at exactly 6 p.m. Not 5:59. Not 6:01. I'd seen it enough times to trust the pattern. So I waited. 5:52, most of the office already empty. 5:58, I kept my eyes on my screen, pretending to type. 6 o'clock, I heard his chair move. Soft. Controlled. Footsteps, measured, even. The door opened. Closed. Silence. I waited another minute, then stood and walked toward the glass partition separating our section from the adjacent office space. Elias's desk was visible through it. Empty. I exhaled longer than I'd realized I'd been holding it. See? I muttered. Nothing. A reflection caught my eye. Not at his desk. Behind it. In the darker office beyond, where the lights were off and the only illumination came from the hallway, bleeding in just enough to outline shapes. Someone was sitting at a desk that shouldn't have been occupied. Elias. Same posture. Same straight back. Same stillness. His monitor was black, reflecting nothing. He was just sitting there. In the dark. I heard him leave, I know I heard him leave. Unless he came back. Quietly. Without me noticing. That's possible. It's normal. He wasn't moving. Not typing, not shifting, not even the subtle movement people make when they breathe. Elias? I said. My voice sounded wrong in the empty office. Too loud. No response. He didn't turn. Didn't react. I took a step closer to the glass, and that's when I saw it. At first it looked like a trick of the shadows. The low light made everything less defined. I almost dismissed it immediately. But then it moved. Not him. Under his shirt. Along his back. The fabric shifted, just slightly at first. A ripple, like something brushing against it from the inside. Then another. And another. Too many. Way too many. The surface of his back wasn't smooth anymore. It boiled. Small, rapid distortions pushing outward, sliding across his shoulders, down his spine, back up again in overlapping patterns. Like dozens of thin, separate things were moving just beneath the fabric. Crawling over each other. Never breaking through, just pressing, shifting, constantly in motion. I couldn't breathe. The movement wasn't random. It had direction. Clusters forming, dispersing, reforming somewhere else. Like a system. Coordinated. Alive. A soft sound reached me. A faint, dry rustling. Coming from him. From inside his shirt. I took a step back. The floor creaked. Everything stopped. Instantly. The movement under his shirt froze. The ripples vanished. The fabric settled flat against his back. The rustling ceased. Silence. Then, slowly, Elias tilted his head. Not all the way. Just enough that I could see the edge of his profile in the reflection of the glass. And his eye. Wide open. Looking directly at me. He didn't blink. I should have left then. That was the moment. The cleanest possible exit. But my brain did what it always does when something doesn't fit, it tried to find the missing piece that would make everything normal again. The next morning I got in at 8:31. The office was mostly empty, lights still half dimmed. Elias was already there. Of course. Sitting exactly as always. I sat down, logged in, tried to work. At 10:14 a.m., Elias stood up without announcement, adjusted his sleeve, and walked away from his desk. Bathroom, Jenna muttered without looking up. He didn't come back after 5 minutes. Or 10. At 15, people stopped noticing he was gone. I waited until the hallway was empty. Then I stood up. His desk was too clean. No clutter, no personal items, just keyboard, monitor, mouse, and a pen aligned perfectly parallel to the edge. Top drawer, empty. Second drawer, folders, blank labels, unused. Third drawer, something rolled slightly as it opened. A small plastic bottle. Eye drops. I picked it up. Almost empty. The label was worn but readable, nothing unusual at first glance. Then I noticed the cap. It had a faint seam running along the edge, like it had been opened and resealed too many times in a way it wasn't designed for. I set it down. My hand moved back into the drawer. Something else was there. Folded. Thin. Flexible. I pulled it out carefully. It looked like skin, but not in the way you'd expect. Dry, translucent, almost waxy. Delicate. Shaped like a human eyelid. An eyelid that had been removed cleanly. Too cleanly. I turned it under the light. The texture had faint ridges along the inner surface. Almost like it had been designed to sit over something rather than belong to it. My stomach tightened. Behind me, someone cleared their throat. I froze. Interesting, Elias said. I didn't hear him come back. I didn't hear anything. I turned slowly. He was standing right behind me. Too close. Close enough that I could smell him, clean, almost sterile. Like fabric that had never been worn long enough to absorb anything human. His eyes were on the object in my hand. Not blinking. You went through my things, he said calmly. Not a question. I thought. You were curious, he interrupted. No anger. No emotion. Just observation. He tilted his head slightly, studying me. That isn't yours, I said quietly. A pause. Then Elias smiled. It didn't start or end naturally. It just formed. Too smooth. Too exact. You're right, he said. And I thought, this is the part where things snap back into something explainable. HR complaint, awkward conversation, maybe a dismissal. But then his eyes shifted. Not the eyes themselves. Something behind them. A subtle refocusing, like depth changing where depth shouldn't exist. You noticed, he said. Noticed what? He tilted his head the other way, very slightly, very slowly. You've been counting, he said. My throat went dry. Counting what? For the first time, something moved under the skin at the base of his neck. A small ripple. Then another. Slow. Controlled. Like something waking up under a surface that had been pretending to be still. His jaw didn't quite align correctly for a fraction of a second. Just long enough for me to see that whatever was holding his expression together wasn't entirely rigid. Do you like my suit? Elias asked. The words came out almost normally. But underneath them was a second layer, a faint, overlapping sound. Not quite echo. Not quite speech. Too many small variations of the same voice, speaking at once. I stepped back. The eyelid in my hand slipped slightly. Elias looked down at it. Then back at me. And for the first time, the thing behind his eyes didn't feel like it was pretending anymore. It felt like it was waiting to see what I would do. I left that same day. I don't remember the exact moment I decided to go. More like my body moved before my thoughts caught up. 1 second I was standing in front of Elias, the next I was walking, fast, through the hallway, past desks, past people who didn't look up. No one stopped me. No one noticed anything was wrong. Elias didn't follow me. That was the worst part. Not because I wanted him to, but because I expected him to. To continue the pattern. To keep the consistency. But he didn't. By the time I got outside, my hands were shaking badly enough that I had to sit down on the front steps. The air felt too open. Too loud. Cars passing, voices, whined through the trees along the parking lot. Normal sounds. I hated how normal everything was. I threw the thing from the drawer into a trash bin on the corner. I don't know why I brought it outside with me. I didn't go back the next day. Or the day after. Called in sick once, then again, then stopped answering calls altogether. Emails piled up. Voicemails too. I didn't listen to any of them. 3 nights later, I turned off my phone. Unplugged it completely. Sat in my apartment with all the curtains closed, trying to reset. Trying to pretend the world hadn't shifted slightly off its axis. I'd been doing it mostly, sleeping, eating, talking myself down, until the knocking started. Not loud at first. Just rhythmic. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks again. My apartment door doesn't get visitors at night. Not ever. The sound came again. Same rhythm. Same spacing. I didn't move. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually I stood up and looked through the peephole. At first I didn't see anything. Just the hallway outside. Dim, empty. The dull yellow light of the ceiling fixture. Then he moved slightly into view. Elias. Standing perfectly still. Facing the door. Not blinking. I pulled back, pressing myself against the wall. Silence. Then, knock. Closer. Right against the wood. I didn't hear footsteps, didn't hear him arrive. He was just suddenly there, like he'd always been waiting in that exact spot. I forced myself to look again through the peephole. He hadn't changed position. But now I noticed something I hadn't before. His mouth wasn't fully closed. It hung slightly open, just enough to show space inside that shouldn't have been visible from that angle. Then it opened further. Too far. Far beyond what a human jaw should allow. And something moved inside it. Thin. Wet. Jointed. It slid forward slowly, testing the air just outside the door. Not reaching yet. Just searching. Then something spoke. My name came through the door in a voice that sounded almost like his, but not quite aligned. Like several recordings layered over each other, slightly out of sync. Elias, it said. Pause. Elias. Not my name. His. I backed away so fast I hit the table behind me. The knocking resumed. Faster now. Still rhythmic, but tighter. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. It wasn't knocking to be let in. I understood that, standing there in the dark. It was counting. Keeping time. From the other side of the door I heard something shift, a soft, wet sound, like skin stretching, followed by a faint scraping against the lock. Not forceful. Deliberate. Patient. Like something learning the shape of it. I don't know how long I stood there. I stopped hearing the knocking at some point. I'm not sure when. I can't tell you if it ended, or if I just stopped being able to distinguish it from everything else going on inside my head. It's been 5 days since then. I'm writing this from my kitchen. The curtains are still closed. I haven't turned my phone back on. There's only one reason I'm writing any of this down. Last night I woke up at 3:08 a.m. to complete silence. I lay still for a moment and then sat up slowly, listening. Nothing. No knocking. No scraping. No sound at all. I started to breathe again. Then something in the corner of the room shifted, and I understood, with the kind of certainty that doesn't leave room for hope, that the door had never been the point. It was just teaching itself to wait.